Welcome to Python functions. In this tutorial we will learn about the Python function and functions expressions with the help of examples. A function is a block of code that performs a specific task. It can be called from other parts of program, and it can take inputs called arguments and parameters and return outputs. Functions are used to make code more modular and reusable, and they help to improve the readability and maintainability of code. So let's learn about types of functions in Python. Python has two types of functionalities. One is a standard library function, and the second one is user-defined functions. In the standard library functions, there are built-in functions in Python. They are available to use, and user-defined functions are functions we can create based on our requirement. So function declaration, here is an example of syntax to declare a function. You can see here that the function's name, and inside parentheses you can see here arguments, and here will be the function body, and after that we can return function by typing just retr and return. In this above example, we can see that def is a keyword that used to declare a function. We also have to understand that function underscore name, which is any name we can give to the function, and arguments are value passed to the functions that we declare above, and also the return function. That is optional. However, you can use this return function to return values from the function. So let's see an example here. Def, I just created another function called greet, G-R-E-E-A-T, greet, and print good morning. So here you can see that I have created a function named greet function, and it is simply prints the text good morning, right? So this function doesn't have any arguments and also doesn't return any values because I have not put any other values 8. So I'll describe about it later in details. However, we have to understand how can we call a function here in Python. So in the second example here, you can see that I declared the same function that I created above, that is greet function, and also print inside a parenthesis good morning, right? So greet functions is like calling a function here, and in the second line here I just would like to print out the another message, something like outside function. So if we run this program, you can see that good morning printed out, and the second line outside function also printed here. So here is an example of a simple Python function that takes two arguments and returns their sum or add value. So here again, def function add underscore numbers parenthesis a comma b. Now after that, I would like to know the result of these 8 numbers a and b. So result is equal to a plus b, where I just return the function by simply type return, and return to what? So we have to return to the result, so that we also have to type here result. So in this function, a and b are the input parameters and result is the output parameter. So when this function is called and two arguments, it adds them together and returns the result, so that we can have the result of addition between a and b. So to call this function, you have to use this code like I have given and written here. Sum is equal to 8 underscore numbers parenthesis 2 comma 3. So here if I just write down like print sum, the output will be 5. Yes, so this would call the add numbers function with the arguments 2 and 3 as I given here, and also assign the result to the variable sum, because sum is we defined as a variable here between the addition of 2 and 3. So the print statement would then output the value of sum between a and b, the addition of a and b, which means the value of a is here I defined 2, and the value of b is 3. So 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, which is already printed out here. So let's learn about Python function arguments. As mentioned earlier, a function can also have arguments. An argument is a value that is accepted by a function. For example, here functions with 2 arguments. For example, def or declaring functions add underscore numbers parenthesis num1 and num2. So sum is equal to num1 plus num2, as I already mentioned it on the above example. But here is num1 and num2, right? So sum is equal to num1 plus num2, and print sum comma sum. So if we print out this one, we can gain the inside of sum. That means sum of num1 and num2. So important to understand here is that if I create a function with argument here, I need to pass the corresponding values while calling them. Okay, for example, function call with 2 values, add numbers parenthesis 10 15, where we can consider like a is 10 and the value of b is equal to 15. So in one line we can call like add underscore numbers 10 15. So function call with no values, just we can type add underscore numbers. This is how we can declare a function here without values. But in the above example, function call with 2 values, which we declare that add numbers 10 15, right? So 10 plus 15, the result will be 25. This is how Python functions actually with arguments works. So here add numbers 10 15 specifies that arguments number 1 and number 2 will get values 10 and 15 respectively. So the return statement in Python. In Python, the return statement is used to inside a function to exit the function and optionally return a value back to the caller. The value can be any data type, such as a string, integer, or even another function. So here is an example of a function that uses a return statement. For example, I have just created def function here. Def square function, square x, return x to the power, that means return x square, right? So result is equal to square x, that means 5. So print result. If I run this statement here, we can okay, I'm just rerunning this. Okay, so now here the function with 2 values 10 plus 15, that means sum of these 2 numbers are 25. So you can see here type error, which is this statement is throwing error saying that add numbers function missing 2 required positional arguments num1 and num2. So that we should understand that we have to declare num1 and num2, that means positional argument, before we run the program. So here at the number 10, 15 specifies that argument num1 and num2 will get values 10 and 15 respectively. So that in the second statement, example here, you can see that def square function return x square, result is equal to square 5. That means print result. If we do that and run the program, it will print out 25. So the square function takes an argument x, where square is using square operator, and then returns to the result using return statement. When the function is called with the argument 5, it returns the value 25. So which is then assigned to variable result, and finally the print statement outputs of the value of result. And it is important to note that when a return statement is executed here, right, it immediately exits the function returns control back to the caller, and any code that comes after the return statement will not be executed. So if no value is specified after the return keyword, the function will return none by default, because we have not declared any keyword after return value, right? So this is how it works. And Python functions also can have default values for their parameters, allowing them to be called with a fewer arguments. And here is an example. For your better understanding, I have created a greet function here. Inside parenthesis, name comma greeting is equal to hello. I have just put hello here, and print, I just want to print greeting plus name. So in the second line here, you can see greet. Inside a greet function, I have declared name as John, and in another line here, greet, inside a greet function, I have declared Mary as a name and hi as greetings, right? So if I print out, run this program, it will print out hello John, hi Mary, something like that. So here is an in this above example, when the function greet is called, the control of program goes to the function definition. All codes inside the function are executed, right? So because as we assigned to print greeting plus name, that's why it came out hi first and Mary second. Mary as name and hi as greetings. So the control of the program jumps to the next statement after the function call. So in this function, the greeting parameter has default value of hello, but it can be overwritten by passing a different value when the function is called. So libraries function in Python. Standard library functions are the built-in functions that can be used directly to our program. For example, print function, square root function, and pow functions. Print function actually prints the string inside the quotation mark. Square root function returns the square root of a number, and pow functions returns the power of a number. These library functions are defined inside the module, and to use them we must include the module inside our program. For example, a square root function is defined inside the math module. For your understanding, I have just created import math function here, and square root computes the square root here. You can see my comment here, and the second line here is square underscore root is equal to math dot square root. So inside parenthesis 4. So print square root of 4. That means print square root of 4 is equal to square root. That means pow compute the power. Pow functions actually computes the power, whereas the square root computes the square root, right? So power is equal to power 2 comma 3. That means power 2 to the power of 3. That means 2 times 2 times 2. How much? 12. So this is how the pow function and also square root function works in Python. So math dot square root is to commute square root of 4, where you can see here in pow 2 3, that means commute the power of number, i.e. 2 to the power 3, right? So here we have to understand that since square root function is defined inside the math module that we already imported math here, and we need to include it in our program. In the next videos I'll mention describe details, but for your understanding in this video, just to sharing the basic ideas of functions. So what are the benefits of using functions in Python? So first one is code reusable, right? We can use same function multiple times in our program, which makes our code reusable. For example, function definition. Def get underscore square number and return number times number. That means per iteration in 1, 2, 3. Here I have just called function, and result is equal to get underscore square I. So we're just getting a square by iterating the values that given above, and then print square of I is equal to result. This is how same functions we can use in multiple times, right? So that one of the benefits of using functions in Python is code reusable. So second one is code readability. So functions also can help us to break our code into chunks to make our program readable and also easy to understand. So in the next video we'll learn more about Python argument, function argument. So that's all, and thank you very much for your time.